We'll now commence with the special one-day license applications for malt beverages and wine only, or either one. Starting with the first applicant is Michael LaChance of the Merrimack Repertory Theater for premises at Liberty Hall, 50 East Merrimack Street. This is a theatrical performance scheduled for Monday evening, March 26th. And typically, they have a concession half hour before the performance and an intermission, which is approximately 15 minutes.
All right.
And then we have application by James O'Hearn, who is of the Pollard Library Foundation. He's here on behalf of the foundation for their 6th annual Meet the Author Night, which is featuring Dennis Lehane. This is scheduled for Thursday evening, May 24th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Memorial Hall, Pollard Library at 401 Merrimack Street. And then there is an application by Kamani Lakhamthang of the Temple of Wat Lao of New England. It's to be held at the Helena Cultural Center, 41 Broadway. This is a New Year celebration for the temple, and this will be Saturday, March 31st, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight. And is Monica Azevedo here? She's here on behalf of the Aramark. She's catering manager. They are offering concessions at the Allen House at the South Campus, UMass Lowell, for the Eka Hunt reception. That's Saturday, March 31st, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, for the record, please step up to the mic and introduce yourselves.
Michael LaChance of Merrimack Repertory Theater.
James O'Hearn with the Pollard Library Foundation.
My name is Kale Manny Lakongpang from Lowell of New England.
Hi, Monica Azevedo, catering manager for Aramark at the Songus Arena.
How many have not had the speech? How many people here have had a liquor license out in their name before?
Sorry, what?
Have you had a license before?
Yes.
Okay. Then you've had the speech if you've had it here. So I'll save it. I'll just say, look, keep the police on your phone. Don't dial 911. You actually add time to the response time. It's faster to dial direct. Call if there's a problem. The hours look reasonable. You have any?
No, just I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, good luck to you.
Good luck.
Thank you. So if anyone is anticipating getting a license this evening, tomorrow morning will be soon enough, I hope.
I guess not.
Does anybody need them for this evening?
We also have applications for special one-day license for all alcoholic beverages. Fernando Souza, who's here on behalf of the Holy Ghost Society for scheduled events at the Holy Ghost Park at 65 Village Street. He's filed applications starting with Friday, April 6th, from 5 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. It's the Holy Ghost Society Cantoria. Saturday, April 7th, from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. is Brazilian night. And also there is a switch by way of an application that was originally approved by the License Commission February 2nd, granted and issued to Fernando Borba, who is a representative of the Holy Ghost Society, also a director. He had originally filed the application and approved for the St. John's Queen's Ball for April 28th. Fernando Souza has asked that that particular date be set aside for another scheduled event in which he has filed a new license application for, and that the original license that was originally granted and issued to Fernando Borba be amended to have his name, Fernando Souza's name, on the license for an event that would be scheduled, seeking approval for Saturday, May 5th, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. That is also the new date for the St. John's Queen's Ball. So that being said, the next one would be Saturday, April 28th, from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., the Holy Ghost fundraiser. That's the new event. And then Saturday, September 1st, 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. is the Loretto Feast. Sunday, September 2nd, 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. is the Loretto Feast. And Monday, also September 3rd, is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Loretto Feast.
Do you want to just go ahead and go to item number 3 as well, since he seems to be the only one on?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to just go ahead and bring up item 3 as well?
The amplification?
Sure.
So in addition to those special one-day license applications that Fernando Souza had filed for the Loretto Feast in September. He's also seeking public entertainment applications for amplified sound for Saturday, September 1st. The hours will be somewhat different, 3 p.m. to 12 midnight for Saturday. Sunday is September 2nd, will be 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Monday, September 3rd, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. This is solely to do with the amplification of musical entertainment that would be scheduled to take place at that weekend.
Okay. For the record, introduce yourself.
My name is Fernando Souza, the Holy Ghost Society president.
Okay. Any thoughts?
No, the only, on the outdoor amplification permit is that Labor Day.
Yes, Labor Day weekend every year.
That Sunday is, kids are back in school on that Monday or Tuesday. So just make sure the
Ab-
volume is turned down.
Absolutely, which normally we move it indoors around 10 o'clock at night to finish everything by
But
11.
10 o'clock's kind of late on
Right.
on a school night, so.
Okay, yeah, well, not a problem.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Commission will now open a public hearing on the application for the transfer of the malt beverage and wine license for restaurant that was issued in calendar year 2012 to an entity known as Lee & Lee LLC, DBA Grace Garden. Zan Wan Lee is the manager of record, and it's requested the transfer be to a sole proprietor, Kevin Wong, doing business as Foodie Goody Asian Restaurant, premises at 101 Lakeview Avenue.
For the record, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Caleb Pan for Kevin Wong.
Yeah, my name is Kevin Wong.
Okay. All right, tell us your plan.
Well, it's a newly established business on a site where there's a pre-existing restaurant. Mr. Wong is moving from Springfield, where he had a restaurant several years ago. He sold that several years ago. That's the source of the funds for buying this restaurant. He moved his family here about a month ago. Kids are in school. He's been open since the day after your last hearing, serving food only. He has went to the Boston Bartending School. I have copies of the certificate if commissioners would like to look at them. Where he was, both he and his wife, who are both on premises almost all the time, took the class, and they were trained in, alcohol awareness, safe serving, and other things. He's aware of the requirement for insurance for special liquor liability. He's spoken to his broker, insurance provider about that, and they're ready to issue the policy when the alcohol license is in place. He's here to answer any questions as well.
Have you had any experience in the serving industry in the past?
No, but I do go to the Boston the bartender school to learn how to service the beer and wine.
Okay.
You manage a restaurant in Long Meadow, it says?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how long did you manage that restaurant?
11 year.
Okay, and there was no service of alcohol?
No.
Okay. And when did you take the bartending class?
March. Last couple.
Should be a date. I don't have a copy.
March of.
Yeah,
and
it's March 8, I think.
And did the course
If you look on
introduce
the-
you to the laws of the Commonwealth relative to the service of alcohol?
Can you say again?
Did the
I'm
course
sorry.
teach you the laws relative to the service of alcohol?
Did they?
Did he teach you about, Massachusetts law about about serving alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay.
Say yes.
All right,
Yes.
well, I'm sure your attorney will explain to you that if this license is granted, you have to be familiar with all the rules and regulations of the License Commission along with the regulations of the ABCC and the general laws of the Commonwealth. So I want you to be fully aware of all the rules and regulations relative to the service of alcohol. Now, currently, there was a liquor license at this establishment, at this location previously, correct?
Yes.
And are you aware of any incidents that that establishment had with the service of alcohol?
I inquired with the commission secretary about whether there's been any incidents involving the police and prior to going forward at the closing, and I was informed that the license was only in place for about less than a year, and there has been no incidents.
This is a public hearing, so let's just open that up. Sorry, I had my mic off. This is the public hearing section. Let's open it up. Is there anybody here to speak? If you guys could just step aside for a second. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? In favor? Please come on up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
My name is Lucille Richards. I'm the president of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. We support the transfer of the malt beverage and wine restaurant license to the owner of the Foodie Goody Asian restaurant at 101 Lakeview Ave. We would not be okay with a bar. C-Spot Bar is just a few doors down, and we don't need another bar in the area. Our group, however, wishes Mr. Wong much success with his new restaurant in our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? All right. Seeing no one else, that portion of the hearing is closed. Is there anyone to speak in opposition? In opposition?
Good evening, members of the commission and Mr. Nguyen. Debbie Bork, 123 Lakeview Avenue. You already know from the previous hearing on May 12, 2011, that I was opposed then and again now. My biggest concern is that the new owner, Mr. Wong, would not be held accountable or held to the same standards as the previous owner, and that the items/comments made at the previous meeting would not be adhered to. Do you want me to tell you what they are? It was no intention to extend the hours, that the owner would be at the premises at all times, that employees would have been tips trained, and Commissioner Bayless also questioned whether the owner had experience serving alcohol. So that's my only concern. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Seeing no one else, that portion of the hearing is closed. All right, just come on up. Is there anything else you want to address, or?
Mr. Wong is the manager and he's the proprietor. He will be there full-time all the time as long as it's open. He's told me he'll be there like 60, 70 hours during the week.
What are the proposed hours of operation?
What are the hours that you are actually open to the public?
It's 11 to 10.
11 to 10?
Yeah.
And there's no plan on extending those hours, is there?
No.
Okay, and how many employees do you plan on having?
So far, we only have one full-time and one half-time.
Okay,
And me and my wife.
And what employees are going to be responsible for serving the beer and wine?
Most of them, my wife and me.
Okay, and your wife and yourself are the ones that have taken this class?
Yes, sir.
I strongly encourage you that if you have any other employees serving beer and wine,
No.
have that. But if you do, in the future, hopefully your business is a hit and you have a lot of people in there, that you have them trained also.
Okay, sir.
Additionally, it's not going to be a bar room.
No, not a bar.
It's a large sit-down area.
Because if we, that seems to be an issue within the city, are restaurants turning into bars, and we want to prevent that from happening without notice to us. So if there's any change in your business model, you have to come in here and let us know.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No.
All right. I don't really have much to add to that, other than you've given us a plan, you've given us a layout. It's what it's existing on record. We're not being told that there's any change. I think you've got at least 11 years of managing a restaurant experience. This is going to be a different dimension to it. But I am glad that you've, gone out and at least taken some training in it as an introduction. So with that, I'll take a motion,
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
and I'll second. All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
Yes. All right, this has got to go down to Boston still, so it's going to take a bit. Keep in touch with Mr. Nguyen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just for the record, presently, there is no alcohol being served on the premises.
That's correct.
There's a couple of papers I left upstairs, so I can't get to, but I'll just go through the application
Sure.
for the Old Gold, Silver, and Platinum, and the application for the billiards and pool. They're locked up. Okay. Commission will now take up the matter to do with applications for Old Gold, Silver, Platinum, and for secondhand articles. This would be for the license year that's to expire April 30th, 2012. The applicant is Evangelia Papadakis to do business as U.S. Gold and Silver Exchange for premises at 219 Central Street. Mrs. Papadakis has registered a DBA with the city clerk and has a lease agreement, I believe.
Okay, for the record, please introduce yourself.
Evangelia Papadakis.
Okay. And can you tell us about your business? Are you presently at this location?
Yes, sir.
And have you dealt in old gold, silver, and platinum in the past?
Yes, sir. 15 years in Morden, Mass, and 10 years in Saugus, Route 1. And we have business in Florida. Just my son moved back, and everybody moved back, both of us, my husband and I. So I like to open a little store. And
You moved from Florida to Massachusetts?
Yes,
That's
yes.
kind of a reverse, don't you think?
no, it's too hot there. It's beautiful here.
Okay. Have you had any problems in the past with any of the law enforcement? Are you familiar with any of the rules?
Oh, sir. We don't have any problem with any store because we don't buy from 19 years old, 25 and over, we have to take identification and fingerprints and everything. We take it to the police every day, and we know the rules, we ask them if that's legal, If they say they don't know, I say, well, take it, go back.
All right. And have you already made an appointment with Lowell PD
Yes,
to
sir.
sit down with them?
My son, he went about 2 months ago and find out, so tomorrow we have to go, if it's okay, everything here, to take the papers and, we know the rules, sir.
Okay.
We do it for 40 years almost.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Let me just ask, is there anything from the police department?
No, there's been no problems that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
The next item is reference to an application filed by Than Tran for a license for public amusement for billiards and pool for premises at 1558 Middlesex Street rear. This is a request for license for 2 billiard tables. This is a matter in which people residing in the immediate area behind the building at 1558 Middlesex Street who have had some concerns and experienced some unusual situations with respect to some possible patrons that have been frequenting the business at the present time. Mr. Tran was advised by the office that this matter may have to be set for a hearing for consideration of the residents in the immediate area.
Okay. For the record, please introduce yourself.
My name's Ton Tran.
Okay. And are you the owner of the building at 1558 Middlesex?
No, I'm renting.
Renting. What's located at that address?
1558 Middlesex in the rear.
Okay.
And what is
What kind
the
of
rear?
building?
Excuse me?
Describe the building for us.
The building itself was actually 2 unit. The front is the nail salon, and the back is I turned into a coffee shop with 2 table pool billiards.
Has the police had any issues with this address?
There were concerns with what was going on at the property. Several weeks ago, I did stop by there one night and spoke with Mr. Tran. And the night I went in, we found evidence of what we believed to be illegal alcohol sales and also gaming implements in the back room. I had a conversation with Mr. Tran. He told me that he was in the process of applying for various licenses and permits from the city. I advised him to stop any activity such as what we observed. Mr. Tran was cooperative, and we have since checked the property, the last time being last night, and found no evidence of alcohol or gaming on the property.
Okay. And, Mr. Secretary, have we issued a coffee house license?
There's been nothing issued to Mr. Tran. In my conversation with Mr. Tran at the office upstairs, he has indicated to me that all he's offering is either coffee, beverages, no food. That being said, doesn't necessarily require him to have a license for common vittler for a restaurant. Any other aspect to what he has going on there, I'm not aware of, other than he's interested in having tables for some of the, for amusement purposes only.
Well, I don't know about you, Commissioner Wegg, but I'd feel more comfortable having a public hearing on this matter. I think because of the location of the property being on a main thoroughfare in the city and also having residential units in the vicinity, I think the public should have the opportunity to put their input as to whether this license should be granted. What are your current operating hours?
It's between 3 and 12 right now.
3 and 12? Okay. And how many people have been frequenting the establishment?
In and out?
Yeah.
No more than 15.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we mark it up for a
Yeah.
hearing, a public hearing on this application.
Yeah, I'm concerned, because my understanding is that used to be a car rental,
It's Angle Glass company before.
right?
And,
Didn't, wasn't
since the,
budget
I'm
out
sorry,
there?
since the day we start renovating the place with the engineer drawing and everything, it's all laid out with the table and stuff. Since the day we got all the paperwork with the food permit and stuff for serving beverage and drinks. So far, I've been keeping the dead-end street nice and clean, no hanging around on the street, no noise at night. I heard this, as the captain stopped by once and person spoke to me that's complaining. I just, on my side, I don't see why. Where's that coming from? Because it's an Asian coffee shop or what?
Well, that's why I think we should mark it up for a public hearing, so that way everyone's
Yeah.
fully aware of what is going on. And
Yeah.
if someone does have an issue, they have the opportunity to come speak about it.
Sure.
And, if there are people, your patrons, that are in favor of the license, they should be here to speak too.
Okay, and Captain, if there's any reports from, that are relevant to this address, if you could just have those for whatever date we set.
Certainly.
Do you want to put it on for the next?
What do we mean, the 29th is a special?
Well, obviously,
We
not
have
the 29th.
the 29th for the Fortunatos.
Right.
And then we're anticipating a meeting for April 12th.
Put it on for then.
Just put up April 12th.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we have a hearing on this application on April 12th at 6:30 PM.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you on April 12th. If you have anybody that wants to speak in favor of it, bring them on that time.
In the meantime, can the business still be open as serving drinks and coffee and stuff? Or have to totally shut down?
They have the-
Well, what are you presently doing today?
Serving coffee and stuff?
Okay, so there's no license, and just on that alone, it's not necessary that you have a license.
No license required, just a permit?
I mean, there is, I should point out to the board that there is a coffee house license. Typically, a coffee house license is one where you have musical entertainment, you have that kind of an atmosphere where people are, there may be poetry readings, there may be acoustic guitar, or some aspects to that, which give the idea of a coffee house form of a meeting place for local residents in the area. Are you offering any type of entertainment?
No,
So it's simply, one goes in, orders a cup of coffee or some beverage.
yep, and they can sit there and drink.
Do you have like a television there or a
Yes.
radio? Okay. And that's the extent of it. It's,
Yep,
I think, I know you've had health department inspection.
yeah, it's all done.
I know the Office of Developmental Services, and there's been a building inspector who's been involved firsthand, as well as Captain Webb, obviously, had been there
Okay.
on a matter to do with some illegality or alleged illegality. So I don't think we need,
I mean, I think the status quo can remain into effect.
Yeah.
You know, you had,
If it's past health inspection, that's, right?
yeah, and Captain Webb seems to think that the illegalities have ceased.
right. And I know that one of the building inspectors, in a conversation I've had with him on the matter, has he actually issued to you the certificate of occupancy or inspection for that?
Yes, it's, the capacity is 40,
Your maximum occupant load is 40?
yes.
Is 40.
Okay.
Okay. You might want to offer a copy of that to me sometime before
Sure.
the hearing.
Yep.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you then.
On item number 7, a hearing had been scheduled with respect to a complaint filed by the superintendent of police against the licensee known as the Middle Street Village, Inc., doing business as the Village Smokehouse, that being an all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 9298 Middle Street, sales of alcohol beverages to 2 intoxicated patrons the morning of February 4th. The licensee has retained legal counsel, and that person is Attorney George Eliades. He communicated by way of fax to the law office earlier in the week, and I received the hard copy of that communication in the mail just yesterday. For matters to do with personal and relating to the nature of the complaint and in his pursuit of further evidence, he's asking that the board not hold the hearing this evening, but to continue it to another date.
I guess I'm inclined, after reading Attorney Eliades' letter, I'm inclined to continue the hearing. I know we don't want to continue it for a lengthy period of time. I guess my question for the law department would be, it seems that Attorney Eliades has made requests to both the Lowell Police Department and the law department for certain documents, and he hasn't received them. So, including, he says in the letter, a Freedom of Information Act request. So I was, I don't want to put the meeting way out. So if you could just relay that message back to Solicitor O'Connor
No,
if he could get that info, and we'll mark it for April 12th,
Yeah.
provided that he receives that info from the law department.
well, I can say that he'll get a response before April 12th. He may not get the documents, because I'm not sure that they're public documents, but he will get a response from the law department, but well before April 12th
great.
regarding those documents, so he can take any other steps that he feels like he needs to take before that.
Great.
Can you CC us on that so we know if there's an issue in advance? All right. Since I'm going to be here on the 12th, I'll make sure you guys have notice in advance. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd have been inclined to grant it just for the first listed reason in there.
Right.
But, okay, so
Yeah,
motion
make a
made for the
motion to
second.
continue to April 12th.
All right, seconded, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
You got your copy of this?
Yes, I have this, yeah.
Commission now open a hearing on the allegations of misconduct as charged by Kenneth E. LaValle, Superintendent of Police, against the licensee known as Resendez Incorporated, doing business as Red Line Pub and Grill, also known as Trainview Pub, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 1018 Gorham Street. The complaint being a disturbance on the licensed premises the morning of February 11, 2012.
All right, for the record, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, members. My name is John Hardigan. I'm an attorney. I have an office here in Lowell. I've been retained to represent Resendez Incorporated. With me this evening is John Resendez, who is a principal and owner, and as I'm sure the board knows, has held a license here in the city for almost 23 years. Also with us is Danny Souza over in the left-hand corner, who is the manager on duty that evening.
Okay. And just for the record, do you want the complaint read into the record, or no?
That's fine. No, we'll waive the reading.
Okay. All right. Captain, if you could just give us go ahead, Law Department.
Yes. As the commission knows, my name is Eric Slagle. I'm an assistant city solicitor for the city of Lowell. The matter that is before the board at this time is a disturbance on the morning of February 11th, 2012 at the business known as Resendez Incorporated, doing business as the Red Line Pub and Grill. The disturbance occurred at approximately 12:44 a.m. on that date. A complaint was brought forward by the police, the superintendent of police, for violations of several items. The first being dangerous condition in the building. The second being a violation of Rule 11 of the Rules and Regulations of the License Commission, to wit, allowing a disturbance to take place on the licensed premises without contact, and then failing to contact the police department immediately upon the notice of that disturbance. The officers here are Sergeant Fay and Detective Fenlon. Both of them responded to the premises on that evening, and Sergeant Fay will testify as to the dangerous condition on the premises, to it a locked exit door that had to be broken down for fire and police personnel to enter the building. And Detective Fenlon will testify regarding his investigation into an unreported assault that was witnessed by staff members of the Red Line Pub and not called into the Lowell Police Department.
Okay. Let me just ask you, you're listing 2 counts for violation of 204 CMR 2.052. Is that basically the 2 that are listed above? The violation of Rule 25 and permitting a dangerous condition to exist, 148-34A?
Correct.
Okay. And just before because this is always an issue, who's going to testify that the assault was permitted or allowed by the owner of the establishment?
Detective Fenlon is going to testify that the assault occurred, the establishment.
I got that part. I'm just going to the next part, which we have to find that it was permitted or allowed. Do you have somebody who's going to testify that it was permitted or allowed?
Well, as I was about to state, there were 2 assaults that evening. The first assault that was witnessed by the staff members of the Red Line Pub was not reported to the police department. The second assault, which followed approximately 15 minutes thereafter, it's the city's position that by not responding appropriately to the first assault, they permitted the second assault to take place.
That's what I was looking for. All right.
If
you want to
the
call up the
commission is
first
okay, I
witnesses.
would ask Sergeant Fay to come to the stand.
And for the record, could you please introduce yourself?
James Fay, I'm a sergeant with the Lowell Police.
Okay. And do you want to take, go ahead.
Sure. Can you just tell the commission about the incident that you responded to on 2/11 at approximately 12:44?
It was approximately 12:45. There was a call broadcast over the Lowell Channel 1 for a fight. Further information advised that there may have been a knife involved in the fight. I responded. I arrived simultaneously with Detective Fenlon. As I pulled in front of the establishment coming from downtown, I pulled across where my driver's door was facing the front of the establishment. As I exited my cruiser, I went to the first door that I saw. As I was outside, I could see inside. I could clearly see a male who was noticeably badly beaten. As I attempted to go in through the door, I found the door to be locked. I then kicked the door in and then I was able to get to the victim inside. Soon thereafter, Trinity ambulance personnel and the fire department came in behind me.
And so once you went into the door, you were on the premises of the Red Line Pub, is that
Yes.
correct? And based on your evaluation of the situation at the time, you determined that the door that you entered had in fact been locked, is that correct?
Yes, it appeared that there was a deadbolt lock. From what I saw, a deadbolt that was actually locked, and that was the only thing obstructing the door was the deadbolt lock.
And that prevented you and the public safety personnel that were with you from entering that door, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And which door was this? Was it the front door?
There was a front door. There were, unbeknownst to me at the time, there are two front doors, I guess you could say. There was a door to the left and door to the right. When I pulled up, I was to the door to the right. Because it's kind of in an inset, maybe 2 feet, you have the windows, or the window to the right where you can see inside, but I could not see the door further down to my left, which is about 15 feet down. I couldn't see that front door.
Okay. And which part of the interior does that door that you went through open to?
Right into the main, I guess if from the street facing the bar is inside, it's kind of a U-shaped bar. It's to the right of the bar.
Okay.
When you arrived to the bar, how many people are outside the establishment?
There was nobody in front. Their parking lot is in the rear of the establishment, so I actually sent responding units behind me to go around to the rear because I wasn't sure. At the time I went in, there were people running out the back left rear entrance, which leads to the rear parking lot, and I stayed with the inside the bar with the victim.
For purposes of the city's position, Sergeant Fay's testimony is, as I stated before, solely to the illegality of having the dead-bolted door, exit door, in the premises.
Would the Attorney Hardigan like to ask the officer any questions, or Sergeant any questions?
Just merely so if you could identify his report that is submitted in the package that was provided to the license holder.
Yep. This is my report.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Let me just respond to this issue?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
I do have a package of documents. As it relates to the allegation that the door was locked, there is no dispute about that. But as it relates to the violation of Chapter 184, Section 34A, it's just not factually appropriate. The documents which I provided to you is a floor plan of the establishment. I have inserted numbers, as you can see, in an alphabetical nature from clockwise, A, B, C, and D. A is the main entrance door, which is referred to that is set back. That is one of the legal means of ingress and egress for the establishment. Door B is the second legal means of egress and ingress for the establishment. That goes out onto a deck and to the parking lot. Door C, which is behind the bar from a practical standpoint and operational standpoint, that's where the DJ stands on a nightly basis when the DJ's working. Actually, just recently, within the last week, Mr. Resendez has been working with the building department, and that door, as it depicted on the plan, swings in. It has now been modified to swing out. Door D, which is a service door, and has always been used as a service door, is the door that was approached by the police department that evening. The second document is just a picture across the street. Door on the right is the service door. Door on the left is the front main door. Third is just a close-up, and I think it's important to note two things I'd ask you to note. One, there is no handle on this door. That is a deadbolt. There is no exit sign on the interior. Also, on the bottom, as you can see, this is an area in the city where it's sloped. So if you come out here, there is no step. The door is offset. So from a practical standpoint, it would be very difficult for one to enter and depart the premises. Fourth is just a close-up of the deadbolt. Fifth is a close-up of the bottom of it. The last document which is submitted to you is an opinion from a code consultant. Now, that's a 6-page opinion. Attached to that is the code consultant CV, which I think clearly indicates his experience and expertise. In fact, he's testified in numerous legal proceedings as to not only this various issues, but issues across the breadth of the building code. And in summary, what that says is, he's looked at the plans, he's done the measurements. If you have a location, as the train view was, not sprinkled, capacity under 90 people, all you need are 2 legal means of ingress and egress, and in his considered opinion, there is no violation. So I think what happened was, the officer came that night, first responder, wanted to assist the individual who he observed having an injury, and took the direct means of access. But that does not necessarily mean that it's a violation of the code or a violation of the Chapter 184.
Have you taken a look at this?
I've not seen any of these documents, no.
Mr. Resend, how long has Mr. Resendes been the owner and operator of that establishment?
About 5 years.
Okay. And have you ever used that entrance, or that door without the handle as an entrance?
No, sir. Not unless they taking machines out or pool table, they use it.
But on a regular business night, that door is always locked?
It's always locked. It's always been locked.
Okay. And you said there was no exit sign from the inside?
It
No.
would not have been available to the officer, but there is no exit sign.
And has the police department responded to your establishment in the past?
Yes.
Okay. And have they ever commented about that door being locked?
Never.
Has the building department ever come to your?
No, sir.
And then no one's ever commented about the fire department? They've never commented about that door
No, sir.
being locked?
Was that door in the same condition when it was inspected by Building and Fire with your annual renewal?
Yes, sir.
Or do you want to move on to the next part?
Well, actually, if I could have a moment to...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please.
Mr. Resendez, isn't it true that on March 17th, you received a citation from the fire department for having a blocked means of egress?
I never received a citation from the fire department. As recently, they told me that I had to fix the deck and the door in the kitchen. They would swing in, they wanted to swing out.
Okay, so you received an oral order from the fire department to correct an invalid means of egress?
Yes.
Okay.
But
this
just
is
to
recently.
clarify, but is it this door that we're talking about?
No,
It's a different door.
no, it's a different door.
Mr. Commissioner, it's door C on the floor.
It's that back door that you're
That's the
having,
back
Or the
door that
deck.
swings out,
the back right if you're looking at the
which
building.
I'd indicated was in the process of.
Yes, you did indicate that. But the door that on this night is alleged, or was locked, is not the door that you were cited by the fire department for?
No, sir.
I'm just... All right.
If I could just have a quick moment to respond to the exhibit. With all due respect to my brother, I would suggest that the commission is disregard the letter attached. The structural engineer isn't here to testify. He obviously, this is not under oath. There's no suggestion that this should be given any greater weight than it deserves, which quite frankly for an item not under oath, I would suggest is not great. But secondly, this opinion, to my knowledge, in nowhere addresses whether or not this individual is of the opinion that a violation of Chapter 148, Section 34A was not on, that this didn't constitute a violation of that chapter. And so absent that statement, there's no evidence that provided by Mr. Resendez that such a violation did not occur.
Well, I don't want to be cantankerous, but in terms of the police reports that were submitted to us for this complaint, if I don't see Officer Papa Constantino, Papa Constantino, or Officer Nobrega here today, so are we not to consider that police report that was submitted to us because they're not here to testify?
No, it suggests that's a document prepared in the regular course of business, whereas this is an opinion prepared specifically for this litigation.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that point. All right, do you want to move on to the next part of the complaint?
Yeah, let's move on to the next part of the complaint.
Yeah, if we can call Detective Fenlon to the stand. And if you could just introduce yourself.
My name is Detective Todd Fenlon.
And Detective Fenlon, you also arrived on the scene on the morning of February 11th at the Red Line.
Actually, I did not respond that night.
Okay.
I didn't respond that night.
When did you become involved in this matter?
Days later, I was assigned to investigate it.
Okay, and can you describe your investigation to the commission?
During the course of the investigation, I went to the train view. I spoke with the manager, Mr. Souza. I got the bartender's information from that night who was working. Contacted one of the bartenders who came down to the station to explain what had happened that night. And during the course of her observations, she explained to me that prior to the response from the police, several minutes earlier, there was an incident, an assault that happened inside the bar prior to the second one. And when I asked her if anyone at the bar had contacted the police about that assault, she said no. We didn't call. They did other things. They did not call the police until that second assault that occurred later on.
And did she give you an idea of what kind of time frame there was between the first assault and the second assault?
She said about 10, 15 minutes.
And did you find out any other information about the initial assault?
Yes, I ended up speaking with the victim of that assault, who I later learned had sustained serious bodily injury. He had since identified the suspect, and the criminal investigation is continuing.
Did he describe the assault in any particular way?
Yes, he did. He described the assault as he was sucker punched.
And did he suggest that there was some sort of implement that was used to hit him?
Yes, he believed he was hit by some closed fist with brass knuckles.
Did you have a chance to review the police department tapes of the incoming calls for that night?
Yes.
Were there any calls from anyone before the call to which the police department responded?
Not that I was able to find, no.
Okay. And did you have occasion to review the facts surrounding the second assault at the train view that night?
Yes, I did. However, that investigation hasn't progressed as far as the first one, as far as criminal complaints and so forth.
Did the victim give any kind of indication in the second assault that made you feel like it might be similar to the first assault?
To this date, I have not spoken with the victim of the second assault. The victim does not want to cooperate.
Okay. And do you know the time frame, the approximate time frame it took for the responding officers to get to the red line from the time the call came in at approximately 12:44?
Based on what I heard, it was relatively quick, maybe a minute or two.
So it took a minute or two to get to the pub, and the first assault occurred 10 to 15 minutes before the second one?
Yes.
I have no further questions at this time.
Sorry. Attorney Hardigan, do you have any questions?
Just the same question that I had for Sergeant Fay. Detective, could you identify that report, obviously, from writing on the wall?
Yes, sir. This is the police report that I wrote.
All right. It was, to your understanding, submitted with the package to the licensee?
I did not see the packet prior to submission.
Thank you.
have any questions.
Giving you the report, is there any mention, Sergeant or Detective, in there about your conversations or your visiting of the train view?
No, I don't believe there is in this
Is
report.
there any mention in there? You're trained to include all relevant information?
Yes.
In your reports? Okay. Is there any mention in there of you having any conversations with the manager of the train view in connection with either investigation?
No.
Is there any mention of you having conversations with a bartender or barmaid in connection with this?
No.
Nothing further, Detective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney Hardigan, could we speak to Mr. Souza?
Pardon me?
I'd like to ask Mr. Souza some questions.
Sure.
Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Danny Souza, manager of Red Line Pub.
Okay, Dan. And I had a couple questions for you. After reading the police reports, it says that there was a entity known as Bully Swag at the establishment that night.
Yes.
Was there?
Yes.
And what is Bully Swag?
I'm not really sure. It's just some clothing line that.
Okay. So they were promoting some sort of event at the establishment that night?
Yeah, it was the last minute thing.
Okay. And
They actually got a favorable write-up in the Lowell Sun.
I saw that, yes. Did, now, in the police report submitted, the officer relays the information provided by one of the victims of an assault that there was free alcohol being given away that night by Bully Swag. Is that true?
There was no free alcohol given away.
Okay. Did you have a contact from Bully Swag that you were dealing with as the manager?
I'm sorry?
Did Bully Swag have a representative that you were in contact with that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know who that individual was?
It's Brian.
Okay. And did Brian have any special requests of you relative to that evening?
Nope.
Okay. My next professional. Okay. Now, was there an assault? Were there two assaults there that night, or two incidents?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And how long between the two incidents?
It was probably well over a half an hour.
Okay. And did you call the police after the first incident?
No, after the first incident, didn't really see what happened, but the kid ended up just get up and he left.
All right, so at no time you contacted the police department?
No, not on that incident.
Okay. All right. And is Mr. Souza the manager of record? No, Mr. Resendez. All right, Mr. Resendez, have you, as the manager of record, have you informed your employees of the obligation of the employee to contact the Lowell Police Department if any assault occurs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're under the understanding that no contact took place relative to the first assault?
I heard the first one didn't call the police.
Okay. And now, relative to the second assault, Mr. Souza, did you contact the police?
I personally didn't know.
You did any of your employees?
Yeah, my bartender.
Okay. All right. And at any point, did you instruct people to leave the premises?
After the second fight, yes.
Okay. Not after the first fight?
No, after the first fight, the kid, like I said, the kid got up and left. I left the music off for a little bit to let everybody cool down. The house lights were on. The whole place was lit up with bright lights. And I left it off for like a good half an hour before I continued again.
And how long have you been managing or been an employee of the pub, Red Line Pub?
I've been off and on for like 3 years.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
I do it for the detective.
Thank you, Mr. Souza.
Thank you. Let me just ask, were the people involved in the first incident and the second incident, were they the same people?
That is unclear.
Do we know who was involved in the second incident? Or
No.
If I could just make a quick note, the similarities in the incidents occur from the reports that on both, in both times, that the individual apparently used brass knuckles, allegedly used brass knuckles in a short period of time in a relatively small establishment. 2 people get hit on the head with somebody allegedly using brass knuckles. That's the similarity. Other than that, I don't think the police department has made any progress because of the uncooperativeness of the second victim in pursuing the second matter or attaching it to a particular suspect.
Okay.
Captain Webb, prior to this incident, or these incidents that occurred, have there been any issues with this establishment in the past?
I don't have any list of prior problems there. I'm not sure whether or not there's any record of a compliance check being failed at this location in the recent past. I'm not alleging of that. Something's telling me there is, but I'm not sure about that.
No, I mean, have there been other calls for other incidents taking place there other than not just compliance checks, but other police responses? Or
There have been other police responses there. I'm not prepared to give you a list of those. I don't have one with me, but I think it would suffice to say this is not the first time we've been to this location.
Okay, and, all right.
Well, Mr. Nguyen, have we, as a License Commission, received any complaints from the Lowell Police Department against this establishment?
With respect to the ownership, Mr. Vicendas and Vicendas Incorporated, my recollection at the moment is no. There's been no complaints.
See, again, this is what we're going to work on as a License Commission and a police department, is that if there have been other incidents or other response from the police, the License Commission has to be aware of those. And, you know, it's the recollection of the secretary and my recollection sitting here that there hasn't been any. Yes.
I would just suggest to the License Commission that in a routine course of responses, if there's not any indication of a violation of the License Commission regulations, there wouldn't necessarily be a complaint of the License Commission. If, for instance, there was a fight and they called it in, if only the second incident had happened here and there hadn't been a locked door, in all likelihood, this wouldn't rise to the level of reporting to the License Commission because they didn't violate a License Commission rule or regulation. It doesn't mean it's not a trouble spot. It just means it's not necessarily violating their license to serve alcoholic beverages, which is alleged here.
Have we had any other complaints regarding this license holder? I know there's another establishment. I'm just trying to... Attorney Hardigan, let me ask. I know your client has another business in the city as well.
He and his wife Martha have owned and operated Friends Restaurant, which for years was down on Lawrence Street and has moved over to the top of, Market Street, probably... 350, probably 4 or 5 years ago. So that's where he's held the license for the 23 years. And he's acquired the second operation within the last 5 or 6. But I'm aware of no incidents in the operation of the restaurant.
If I might just address the commission, in closing, the city's position is based on the admissions of the manager at the time. There's no question as to a violation of Rule 25 of the rules and regulations of the License Commission, and thus violation of 204 CMR 2.05, at least a single violation of that that's already been admitted by the license holder. I would suggest that there's sufficient evidence to uphold a violation of 148, Section 34A, based on the testimony of Officer Fay of Sergeant Fay. And it's the city's position that that would trigger a second violation of 204 CMR 205-2. For those reasons, the city would request that the License Commission institute discipline against the license holder at this time.
And let me just ask the city, what's the current status with the door now? Has the building inspector condemned the building until it's fitted with a door handle?
I'm not aware of any action taken by the building inspector. I'm just not aware.
I can answer that question. The business is operational. In fact, I think according to Mr. Resendez, his contractor is ready for, or at least attempting to coordinate, final inspections tomorrow.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Attorney Hardigan?
I would just make a distinction from what counsel provides. I don't think that the license holder conceded that there was a first violation on the first incident. In fact, I think if you read the detective's report, I think Mr. Souza, when he turned on the lights, turned down the music, was hypersensitive. If you read the detective's reports, I think it can be fairly found that the individual who was hit goes to the ground, gets up, doesn't report it to the police, doesn't report it to the establishment, and in fact leaves. What's I think important in the report is even the alleged victim himself doesn't think he has an injury because he goes home and goes to bed. Gets up the next morning and apparently then seeks medical treatment. So, I mean, my suggestion is that if the individual who's hit doesn't realize that he's hurt, I think what happened here is there was a pushing and shoving, hypersensitive, turns the light, calm everything down, and that's exactly what happened. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to say that I think that there was sufficient testimony from the manager that he was aware of the first incident and that there wasn't a call made to police. And I understand how it could be confusing, and I do think that he obviously responded to it. And it's kind of a judgment call at that, but I think if it's enough that you have to calm the crowd down, it's probably enough to make the phone call.
No, I just wanted to mention one other incident, and I apologize for interrupting. Is that it's not specifically pertinent to this, but it is that shortly, within the last couple of weeks, the License Commission Secretary was notified that the Red Line Pub had lost its insurance and
Is
was
that
operating.
part of today's hearing?
No, I'm just
Okay.
suggesting.
Let's not muddle the record.
I'm just checking,
All right,
just for
thank you.
purposes of a.
All right. Now, I'm going to continue, if that's okay. Where I was going is I said, look, I think that once you have to pick up the phone and if you got to turn the lights on and calm the scene down, it's probably worth making that phone call. Look, I understand it's a tough call, but the regulation is kind of very broadly written to encompass not just an incident that's happened, about to happen. It's pretty broadly drafted. So I would say that there's probably a violation of our regulation there. I don't think that there's a violation with respect to the door. I think the photographs are pretty clear that the door in question is not a means of ingress and egress. It does not have steps leading to it. It does not have handles. There's nothing on it that would indicate, and it's a solid door with no way of viewing through. It doesn't have anything that would indicate to me that it was a means of ingress or egress. It doesn't match with the floor plan as being what one would consider to be a means of ingress or egress, since it opens up in the middle of a table or right in between two tables. and where the building has passed inspection with that same layout by both fire and the building department, I'm not going to second guess them absent their testimony that they find this to be a violation. And where I don't have that, I can't see that that's a violation. So with respect to the door, I don't find that there's a violation. With respect to the making the call, I do find that there should have been a violation, that as a result of that, that is a violation of our local regulation. I don't believe that that meant that you were permitting an illegality on the premises, because I think the law on the permission of an illegality on the premises, all the cases involved in that revolve around allowing prostitutes to solicit on the premises, dealing drugs by employees on the premises. Those are what those cases involve, and those are usually deemed to be permitted where it's an employee in carrying out the conduct. Employee assaults that occur and go unreported. Those were all the slew of cases that I've seen. I know that we like to throw that charge on as anything happened, therefore it must have been permitted. That doesn't meet the legal standard, it never has, and I'm not about to go ahead and do something that'll get overturned. So my recommendation would be to vote and find that there was a violation for failure to comply with the local regulation to make the phone call. And that's my motion right now.
I, just to respond, number one, I think the history of this establishment, where it does have a clean record in the recent history, definitely helps out. But I know Mr. Souza was the manager that night, so he's taking the brunt of this, that you know, he has to make the phone call. He has to be instructed by Mr. Resendiz to make the phone call. I also know that Mr. Souza is from Lowell. He is aware of what's going on in the city. And just the night before was the incident at Fortunato's, and all the establishments should have been hypersensitive to any fight or anything that was occurring. That especially the evening after. I mean, it was on the top story on the news and in the newspaper, et cetera, et cetera. So I do find that there's a violation of Rule 25. Relative to the door, I don't find there's a violation. I mean, it's clear, as Commissioner Weicker said, there's no steps. There's three other means of entrance and exit. And again, in the permitting the illegality, I agree with Commissioner Weicker relative to permitting a disorder or disturbance. I think it could be argued that by not calling, you may have permitted the second disturbance, but I don't think the evidence was presented in this instance. So my recommendation would be to find in violation of Rule 25, and I guess I'd make a motion that we find a violation of Rule 25, and that the license be suspended for 7 days, and 2 to be served, 5 to be held in abeyance for a period of 1 year.
I'll second that motion. I know that you have a period of time that you can appeal this to Boston. Well, first, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, I know you have a period of time that you can appeal. What is that period of time?
And certainly, with respect to just a letter to go out to the licensee, for a letter to be sent out to the licensee, I would say by this time next week on that matter. And so in terms of projecting a days of closure, which are 2 days, you can anticipate, say, possibly the 19th and the 20th, Thursday and a Friday, or sometimes the third week in April to put that into effect.
Oh, I'm just asking, how much, after they get the letter, how many days do they have to file an appeal?
Once, upon receipt of the notification, they have 5 days in which to file an appeal.
Okay. I'm going to ask, why don't we just, can we get them the notification by Monday?
Sure.
You know, just that way we'll know by Friday if we're, so.
I mean, relative to your imposing the time of suspension, is that what you need to?
So, I'm just trying to figure out our timeline, so yeah. I mean, I'm going to propose, you know, that we start,
Why don't we close May 1st and May 2nd? That's a Tuesday and Wednesday, it'll be the first 2 days of the month, and then the next 5 will be held in abeyance for 1 year, provided there's no other other violations. After 1 year, those 5 days will go away.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, if you wanted it, I could have just. I mean. Okay, anyways. With respect to continuing with the agenda, number 9 on the agenda is such that we have a communication from the city solicitor, Christine O'Connor, referencing the recent city council's action endorsing a revision of the rules and regulations of the City of Lowell License Commission, which governs the sale and service of all alcoholic beverages and beer and wine only. It is based on the communication from the solicitor, it is a draft that is subject to amendment, and she welcomes the opportunity to discuss with the members of the License Commission any specific or general matters to do with the rules and regulations as proposed in the draft and having been endorsed by the council. Prior to setting up for a public hearing, so that if the commission, the members themselves have any particular concerns or questions on one item or another, or in manner in which it's being suggested, or even the solicitor herself has commented to me in terms that there could be some tweaking of this or that, but suggesting that the board possibly set up a meeting time where she would be attending to discuss the particulars that of concern to the License Commission and what she might offer as a suggestion or what your commission might want to suggest. Such a meeting doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be considered such as a meeting of a subcommittee of the council, where you're not necessarily, though we do have to do the right thing by posting 48 hours and what have you, but such a matter as this particular issue, solely this issue, could be discussed at an afternoon session where the particulars going back and forth on certain line items, if you will, as an alternative, or certainly evening as well. I mean, it's not that that couldn't be done in the evening. But this would be strictly to do with the regulations. There would be no other items on the agenda. It would be solely for the members of the commission to put their perspective out there, and then, at some point, at a regular meeting of a later date, the board could then propose a date for a public hearing in which everybody and anybody would be notified to appear. Certainly all of our licensees in the city of Lowell would be notified to have input.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I guess, you know, I've met with Solicitor O'Connor relative to these rules and regulations, and it was just me as to not violate any open meeting laws. I think it's appropriate for the entire commission to meet with the solicitor and give the public 48 hours notice as required by the statute. I would suggest that because there's 3 individuals and Solicitor O'Connor, that we'll make a motion I'll make a motion to ask Solicitor O'Connor to provide us with dates that she's available, and Mr. Nguyen can poll us as to our availability, and then we can choose a date and give it to the city clerk for 48 hours' notice. So I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second the motion. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Just make sure that we have sufficient time, because my read of them is they're overly wordy. Everything that's said in them could be said on a page about this
I
size.
think what Captain Webb's gonna have to do when it gets finished.
Trying to keep it clean. One page, it should all fit.
We also have Commissioner Weiker's motion, reference to 3 items, and specific, that is, to include a comparative study, a motion to review the fees associated with the license in the city of Lowell, to include a comparative study by the Executive Secretary of Lowell, compared to both surrounding towns, such as Billerica, Chelmsford, Dracut, Tewksbury, Tingsboro, as well as comparable-sized cities, Worcester and Springfield. If I may just interject on that matter, the solicitor, Christine O'Connor, had mentioned that apparently some such study had been underway. So
good.
I'd be welcome that opportunity to see that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just leave the motion in place just for that. I mean, look, my concern on it is they haven't been reviewed since 2009. I see some license holders here. I apologize. I just want to see where we're at.
I think right at the moment, I think the city of Lowell is in the ballpark compared to all of these other communities. In fact, I think other communities kind of strive to kind of come up to where the city is. In recent years, they've kind of pushed their rates up. But that's just my observation from other.
Like I said, it was just an issue I was looking at. I know that,
Okay.
you know, we have to.
Also, there is Commissioner Weiker's motion to review revenue generated through all licensed activities in the city, which may include, or is to include property taxes paid at any location holding any form of license issued presumably by the License Commission, as opposed to, say, the Health Department or Office of Developmental Services.
What we're putting out, I just want to see what we're, you know, there's been a lot of complaints about whether or not licensed establishments produce anything of value for the city, as opposed to for themselves. I'll say that I've gotten some rather strange individuals called on the issue. So I'd just like to see whether or not
And last but not least
revenue
is
neutral or revenue friendly or revenue, you know, what it does with our vacancy rates, et cetera, so.
a motion to table any proposed regulatory changes until such time as the commission has received a response to the requested information from the meeting of February 2nd with respect to the License Commission and an opportunity to review the same. Specifically, that had to do with Commissioner Weiker seeking out some certain information from the Superintendent of Police, the Office of the Superintendent. Comment made to me by the solicitor on that was apparently it may be someone involved and may take time to generate that kind of information.
And look, I'm comfortable with it. My concern is we're being asked to put some very expensive requirements on businesses. We're talking about several $1,000s per establishment. Before I feel comfortable having that conversation, I want to know how much of a problem we're looking to address. You know, specifically, I know somebody talked about putting in these, you know, $4,000 and $5,000 digital systems at doors for digital cameras. There's very expensive systems to set up, and the proposal has it for all licensed establishments. I mean, you know, do I have to photograph everybody coming in and out of the 99 because they serve alcohol? And before, you know, maybe a place like the 99 has a much larger operating budget than, well, let's say, you know, a corner, you know, florist that also had a, you know, or a, you know, a corner restaurant. So given that, I'd like to see where our problems are lying, with these, how much of an issue we're looking to address, and I would not feel comfortable imposing these large financial burdens absent knowing that it's actually going to address a specific need. So I'll keep that motion in place. So those are the three motions I have.
I'll second all the motions.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, following up on the agenda, we have an application for change of license type. Presently, we have the licensee known as Q&Q Restaurant, Inc., doing business as China Buffet. Amy Quinling is the secretary for the corporation, or the, yes, and that its location is 203 Plain Street. They're seeking to go from just beer and wine only to serve all alcoholic beverages. There was an attempt earlier this year for the Q&Q to do just that, but it had to do with also the transfer of the license from the previous licensee to Q&Q on the beer and wine. Point being made is that the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission said, no can do. You gotta take one thing at a time. Either you go upgrade with the previous licensee, or you go for the transfer first, get that approved, which has been approved by the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission, and now that new licensee on that transfer is seeking to now go upscale with their service. So there would be a hearing to be set, would April 12th be?
If we've got enough time, April 12th would be great.
Yep. I'll second that.
And with respect to the last two items, they kind of go hand in glove. That is to say that the current licensee of record at the location at 197 Market Street, which is known as Mariv Corp., and Mark Girolamo is the manager of record for the business that is now, we now know as the Dubliner. He's closed the business. He has entered into an exit agreement with the landlord, Econ Realty Corporation, Tom Economo, that he can vacate the premises and without severe penalty, as far as the violation of the lease. There would be no violation of the lease under the terms of the agreement. And which would necessitate the License Commission canceling that license, for the fact being, at the present time, we have an application where the licensee of record at 34 Jackson Street, known as CB Enterprises, Inc., DBA Majors Pub, Corey Belanger is the manager and owner of that business. He wants to take his license at 34 Jackson Street, which is the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant, and relocate it to 197 Market Street. He apparently has entered into an agreement with Mr. Economo to occupy the premises. It would require a public hearing for change of location for that matter, and it would also require that the applicant notify abutters, which are at the moment, we're dealing with the abutters touching the premises.
Right.
And there is a building that touches the premises of the building at 197 Market Street. It
There's a
has
slew of condominiums in it.
29 condominiums, and each owned and separately, or maybe, so that would require all of, at least all of them, plus a couple others, but
Make a motion that we cancel the license issued to Mr. Mariv Corp., effective immediately.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. And timing for putting on the transfer?
apparently Mr. Belanger is anxious to move from one to the other, but it may not be as quick as he thinks it can be, but.
I'll make a motion to put it on April 12th.
I'll make a motion to put it on April, I'll second that as well, yeah. And if he can't make it, if he can't make his deadlines, please just let us know in advance.
It'll be one thing to be the local board, but I can assure you that the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission, which has the final word on such matters, first they're gonna be notifying the Department of Revenue and the Department of Industrial Accidents relative to Mr. Girolamo's business. And if there's any outstanding taxes owed to the Commonwealth, that will take precedent. And then the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission will also notify the Department of Revenue and Industrial Accidents Board Department of Mr. Belanger's interest in moving. So there's a big tax issue that we don't know anything about that will need to be addressed at the state level. So the fact of the matter is, even though the License Commission can be so cooperative in moving licenses and canceling one and granting change of a location for another, the state could take several months for the final approval?
Well, it's on our end, we can, you know,
We can act swiftly.
it's a vacant building. On our end, we can move. You know, but yeah, whatever the state takes, the state takes. I mean, it's out of our control. All right, so motion for the 12th?
Second.
All in favor, yes.
Then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes. And I think he's already home, so Benjamin doesn't have to worry.
Yeah.